Level 1. Survival. Every morning begins with the same sound. Not birds, not traffic, not an alarm clock. Just an old ventilation machine, pulling stale air out and forcing fresh air back in. That's what mornings sound like now. Your entire world is only 11 steps wide. 11 steps from your bed to the bunker door, 6 more to the food locker, and then to him. He's always awake before you, sitting in the exact same chair, as if he never moved all night. But the strangest thing about him isn't his face, it's his hands, perfectly steady. 3 weeks after the end of the world, your hands still shake every time the generator groans. His never do. Without saying a word, he slides your daily water ration across the table. You take it, because down here, manners don't matter anymore. Survival does. You glance at the generator, 41%, 2% lower than yesterday. You both do the math, silently. Neither of you says the number out loud. Some numbers become more frightening the moment you hear them. Your eyes drift toward the same wall, the sealed metal panel. No handle, no keypad, just a perfectly straight seam. You've asked him twice what's behind it. Both times he gave you the exact same answer. It doesn't matter anymore. The first time you believed him, now you don't. Level 2. Suspicion. By the second week, you stop listening to what he says. You start paying attention to what slips out by accident. He knows things he shouldn't. Government filtration systems, military bunker protocols, the exact number of emergency shelters in this sector, a number you never told him you were counting. Then one day, you mention the date everything happened. Just the date, nothing else. For exactly 1 second, his fingers stop moving across the table. Then, they continue, like nothing happened. But you saw it. Now you watch him differently. There's an old folder inside his backpack. You've seen the corner of it more than once. Every time, he hides it before you get close. One night, you wake up, and his bed is empty. You quietly step into the hallway. He's standing in front of the sealed panel, one hand resting against the cold metal, not trying to open it, just standing there, the way people stand, in front of a grave. He hears you, turns around. No panic, no surprise, just one sentence. I couldn't sleep. You don't answer, because for the first time, a question has finally taken shape inside your mind. Is this man hiding something, or has the whole world been hiding something about him? Level 3. Discovery. 3 weeks later, he finally falls asleep. Really asleep. Maybe for the first time since you met him. His backpack slips off the chair. A folder slides onto the floor. You freeze. For a few seconds, you just stare at it. You already know. Once you open that folder, there's no going back. But if you don't, you might spend the rest of your life wondering what was inside. Slowly, you pick it up. The first page, burned around the edges. The second, an old photograph, a control room, rows of monitors, emergency lights, several people standing around a large table, and one of them is him. You turn another page, a government document. Half of the paper is burned away, but one thing survived, a signature, his signature. You read it once, then again. Maybe the second time, it'll become someone else's name. It doesn't. Then your eyes catch a single line, Project Exodus. You've heard that name before, back when people still whispered, instead of disappeared. Some said Project Exodus caused the apocalypse. Others believed the government buried the truth. But every version of the story ended the same way. One man signed the final authorization, and after that, the world changed forever. You slowly look over at him. He's sleeping, less than 10 feet away, peacefully, like a man carrying no weight at all. Now you have proof, and you have a choice. Wake him up, or keep watching, until you understand exactly what kind of man you've been trapped with. You put the folder back. Not today. Not yet. Level 4. Confrontation. 2 days pass. You don't mention the folder. You don't ask any questions. But everything has changed. Every movement, every word, every silence now means something. Finally, you place the folder on the table between you. No yelling, no accusations, just a folder and 2 people who can no longer pretend. He looks down at it, then back at you. For the first time, you see something in his eyes. Not fear, not guilt, just exhaustion. He speaks first. So, you found it. You nod. The bunker falls completely silent. Then you ask, is that your signature? He looks at the paper, then quietly says, yes. Just one word. No excuse. No denial. Anger rises inside you. So this really was your fault. He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he studies the photograph. Then he finally says, I made one decision, and everyone who's still alive is alive because of it. You slam your hand against the table. People died. He doesn't argue. He simply says, I know. I've lived with that every single day. For the first time, you don't know who you're looking at, a monster or a man who's been carrying the weight of the world alone. Then, he slides the document toward you. His finger stops on the date. Look again. You read it, then read it again. Something feels wrong. This isn't the date the world ended. It's 4 days earlier. You slowly look back at him. If this decision was made before the apocalypse, then maybe everything you've believed has been backwards. He quietly says, You think I caused the end of the world? A long silence. Then, I've spent the last 25 days wondering if you'd ever ask what happened, instead of deciding you already knew. For the first time, you realize something terrifying. Maybe this story has never been about finding the villain. Maybe it's about finding the truth. Level 5. Dependency. That night, the bunker goes silent. Not completely, just enough to make you notice. You rush toward the control panel. A red warning flashes across the screen. Water filtration system offline. Your stomach drops. Without clean water, this bunker becomes a tomb. You hit every switch you can find. Nothing happens. Then, he quietly stands up. No panic, no rushing, just calm. The same calm you've hated since the day you met him. He kneels beside the filtration unit, removes the front panel, starts reconnecting wires you've never noticed before. You don't understand what he's doing, but one thing becomes painfully clear. Without him, you don't survive this. For 14 long minutes, the only sound inside the bunker is metal scraping against metal. Then, the machine hums back to life. Water begins flowing through the pipes again. Your life was just saved by the man you believe destroyed millions of others. The generator drops to 28%. Every 90 seconds, the air recycler coughs. A short, mechanical stutter. Each one reminds you, time is running out. Eventually, you stop sleeping in separate corners. Not because you trust him, because the cold reaches the far side of the bunker first. Neither of you ever talks about it. One night, he quietly whispers a name, Maya. Just one word, then silence. You almost ask who she was. You don't. Instead, you ask something else. What are you actually afraid of? He stares at the floor for a long moment, then says, Not dying. Another pause. I'm afraid you'll never ask the right question. You frown. What does that mean? He finally looks at you. You've spent 25 days asking, who caused this? But you've never asked, why did the choice have to be made at all? For the first time, your certainty begins to crack. Maybe you've been chasing the wrong answer from the very beginning. Level 6. Reversal. The next morning, the generator reads 18%. Emergency lights begin flickering across the bunker. Then, you hear it. Click. A loud metallic sound echoes through the room. You both turn. The sealed panel is opening. Not because anyone unlocked it, because the backup power keeping it sealed has finally failed. For 25 days, that wall protected a secret. Now, it can't anymore. Behind it is a small hidden room. Dust covers everything. An old computer terminal, a locked storage case, and inside, a black data recorder. The moment he sees it, he closes his eyes. Like he's been waiting for this moment since the day the world ended. You press play. Static. Then, a recorded voice. Emergency council recording. The timestamp appears. 31 hours before the apocalypse. Another voice follows. The chain reaction cannot be stopped. A second voice. Calm, but desperate. Projected outcome. Global extinction. The room falls silent. Then one final voice. We have one option. Contain the reaction. Sacrifice one region, or lose every region. You stop breathing. Slowly, you turn toward him. His head remains lowered. Finally, he speaks. That was the decision. A long silence. Not whether people would die, but how many. You stare at him, unable to move, unable to speak. He continues. If I refused, everyone died. If I signed, millions still died. But humanity survived. You open the digital map. Almost the entire planet glows red. Only a handful of small green zones remain. One of them is this bunker. Your hands begin shaking. Not because he's guilty, because he never had a way to save everyone. Only a way to save someone. You finally whisper, why didn't you tell me? He looks directly into your eyes, for the first time. Because no one believes the man whose name is already written as the villain. The generator drops to 10%. The bunker alarm begins screaming. For the first time, you realize something far more terrifying than the apocalypse itself. Sometimes, history isn't written by liars. It's written by people who never knew the whole story. Level 7. The final choice. The bunker shakes. The emergency lights begin flashing red. A cold, mechanical voice echoes through the room. Emergency power critical. A second later, another message appears on the screen. Surface conditions stable. For 25 days, this door was nothing more than a wall. Now, it's opening. A loud metallic click echoes through the bunker. Slowly, the massive steel door unlocks. A beam of sunlight cuts through the darkness. For the first time in almost a month, you see natural light. You take one step toward the exit, then stop, because he doesn't move. He stays exactly where he is, standing in the middle of the bunker, looking at the open door, but making no attempt to leave. You turn toward him. Come on, it's over. He gives a small smile. Not happy, not relieved, just tired. No, it's only over for you. You don't understand. He slowly looks toward the sunlight, then quietly says, Out there, I'm still the man who destroyed the world. A long silence fills the room. Then he reaches into his pocket. He places a small data drive in your hand. Everything is on it. The recordings, the evidence, the truth. You stare at it, then back at him. Why don't you tell them yourself? He lets out a quiet breath. Because people don't believe the truth once they've already fallen in love with the story. The generator drops again. 5%. The bunker grows darker. You look back at the open door, then at him. If you leave alone, the world will never know what really happened. If you stay, both of you die. For 25 days, you believed the biggest question was, who caused the apocalypse? Now, you finally understand. That was never the real question. The real question is, can the truth survive if the only person left to tell it is the one everyone already hates? The alarm begins screaming. The generator reaches 1%. He steps back, giving you a clear path to the exit. No pressure, no pleading, no final speech, just one sentence. This time, the future belongs to your decision. You tighten your grip around the data drive, take one last look at him. Then, you walk toward the light. The bunker door slowly begins closing behind you. Some people become villains because they choose evil. Others become villains because history only remembers the cost and forgets the reason. Maybe saving humanity was never the hardest decision. Maybe living with that decision was.